How do you feel about today's game?
We better win, that's all I know.
How do you feel about Dak Prescott after last week's performance?
Dak Prescott has been very consistent with the division. He has took us back-to-back 12-5 seasons. You know what I mean? His winning record is above. You can say what you want about the past 7 years, but on our division, he has been owning it for years.
Are you a Dak rider or are you a Dak hater?
Before he broke his finger, I was a rider. Now, nah. They need to let him go now.
You know Dak Prescott's watching this right now, right? Actually follows the CanFan podcast.
Woo!
Let's go! Let's go, baby! Cowboys Nation, son! Let's go! Cowboys Nation represent! Cowboys Nation represent! Let's go! Get out of here!
Crack 'em if you got 'em.
Crack 'em if you got 'em, son. All day, every day.
Crack 'em if you got 'em, Seattle.
Here we are at Lumen Field. And is that a Harry Potter reference? Maybe. I don't know. I've casted a lot of Lumen spells.
Lumen videos.
We want to see Deuce represent. We want to see him repeat. I want some repeats. And I don't need 3 beats if they repeat.
I don't need 3 beats.
I don't need
if
3
they
beats.
repeat.
If they repeat. Let's go.
You don't think we're gonna make the postseason?
Maybe wild card.
So this is
Maybe wild card.
This is where I'm like, I'm good for a good ribbing, but like to say we're not gonna make the postseason, now I can't even argue with you. Because you've sucked. Oh God. You know it too. You know it. Who's your quarterback? Fucking you got
This is our year. Look at those dudes. Look at those dudes.
Anthony, Adam, AJ on the block. Dallas Cowboys swag, about to rock the flock. Canadian hosted them Philly birds get mocked. Cowboys CanFan podcast game locked. Crack 'em if you got 'em, pop tops and chill. Vancouver reppin' Dallas, show some real skill. Knockin' Philly chirps, we roast them on the grill. Crack 'em if you got 'em, hear the buzz and thrill.
Yeah, boom.
I mean, guys, since we brought this song in, have we won a game?
No. No, we haven't.
I can't blame the music, though.
No, you can't blame the music.
I mean,
you can't blame the music.
If you're not going to blame the jerseys, we definitely can't blame the music. So
no, we can't blame anything other than the Dallas Cowboys, guys. That's all we can blame. I don't know. I messed up. If you're looking at my background, I somehow messed it up. I was panicked trying to get it. All you see is a 1/2 and a 2, but I tried.
Okay, we know what it says, and we,
you're just teasing people to show them that you had the score in there.
I tried. Guys, Monday Hangover, Cowboys CanFan, our new show, 3rd time doing it. We've had one good hangover, I guess. I'm going to ask you guys, how are you feeling this morning waking up?
Oh,
AJ?
I was fine, to be honest.
AJ doesn't get hung.
I don't.
He doesn't get hung over.
But I slept it off.
I went to bed, to full disclosure, I went to bed at like 8 p.m. So
I think
that's Pacific Standard Time. Like I don't even think I finished. I was watching the Sunday nighter, I believe it was the Chiefs and Falcons, and I fell asleep before it was even done. I passed the F out. But man, oh man, I think the realization that the Cowboys are 1-2 and aren't as good as we thought they were going to be is a bigger hangover than our hangover itself.
Yeah, and I always wake up after a game like yesterday and just being like, did I just dream that all?
Was it a dream or a nightmare?
A nightmare, yeah. But it was bad. Ravens beat the Dallas Cowboys 28-25, and another, until the 4th quarter where the Ravens seemed to just shut it down, basically.
I know.
But the Cowboys scored 19 points in the 4th quarter.
Onside kicked it.
Which the onside kick got me jacked up.
It was such a Jerry Jones last minute. Like, again, you look at the score, you'd be like, okay, Cowboys lose by a field goal. That's not so bad. But
Yeah.
you have to watch the game to get the full context of it, which is classic Cowboys, right? Let's go and score 20 points in the fourth quarter when we're down by 30.
In 10 minutes, even. Like in 10 minutes of the fourth quarter. They didn't even do much prior to that. So, like you said, it's a very Cowboys-esque thing. It's the same thing with the Packers game in the postseason last year. If you saw the score, you wouldn't have thought it was that bad of a game. But if you sat through it like we sat through not only the Packers game, but we also sat through the Saints game, and now we had to sit through this Baltimore game, that first 50 minutes of it was pretty tough to watch. I went back and edited a video today of our reaction, and it very CanFan-like of us, but right from the get-go, we were all very
pessimistic.
Yeah, and that's kind of how this team's already brought out on us.
I can't even
right from the get-go.
Was the Ravens one of the games that all three of us said we would lose when we were doing our season prediction?
Probably. I think it was.
This was one that I had.
You had it chalked out?
I think we all had the Cowboys 2-1 right now. We all thought they were going to beat the Saints for sure. We may have been kind of almost split on the Browns, but we were all at 2-1 in our brains right now. And if it was 1-2 in our brains, I don't think we any of us thought it was going to be 1-2 how it was.
Totally. Yeah, it would have been one. It would have been 1-2, lost to the Browns, lost to the Ravens.
But another thing, and this isn't even about the Cowboys Ravens game, the thing that brought kind of a dark undertone to the whole thing was watching the Saints Eagles prior,
I know,
and the Giants Browns also.
Yeah.
You know, so like when you see our divisional foes going up against teams that we've already played, and the Eagles beat the Saints and barely let any points, and then the Giants kind of had their way with the Browns, it kind of put a little bit of a negative undertone on everything.
Yeah, it's tough when you are watching that and you're like, oh, shoot, the Cowboys struggled and we're expected to beat the Eagles, at least in our minds. We're supposed to own the Eagles. I mean, again, when you're fighting one of your division rivals, it is a totally different ball game. But yeah, it started where it's like, okay, I don't think we're gonna have a cakewalk here. But the boys are coming off of an embarrassing loss. They have to put something up. So it was very frustrating. It's even frustrating or more like Alex was saying today. Did you wake up? Is it a dream? And now we have all of these randos coming in here, just reminding us that we lost to the Ravens.
Hey, dipshits, trust us. We know.
Yeah,
we know the Cowboys lost yesterday. We watched the full game. We unfortunately had to sit through it. And these bastards, the Cowboys I'm talking about, not the randos that are showing up, they just gave us enough.
I know.
They kept giving us that little bit of hope.
Yeah.
A little bit. They just kept stringing us along, you know. We got that touchdown in the fourth, and it's like, well, we're still down. But then they get that onside kick, which was a huge play of the game. And then they go down and score a touchdown on that drive. So we were completely strung along, just enough to keep us into the game, to just build us up and break us down all over again.
Tearing us apart one play at a time.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa. I can't believe we don't have one room soundbite.
I can't believe you guys don't have a room soundbite, or I thought you guys were doing Arnie there for a second. So I can't believe there's no Schwarzenegger soundbites either.
No Schwartzies and no.
I used to have one.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, let's get into
it.
Should we get into the meat and potatoes of it all?
Yeah, let's get into it. AJ, do you remember calling Jerry Jones a wrinkled potato yesterday?
He's a wrinkled potato. I'm Marty Janneried Jerry Jones yesterday.
Yeah, you totally did.
Wow.
He's done.
Yeah.
He's I think he has done some good things, but it obviously comes down to how the players play on the field. I think you have to kind of say, the GM does have a responsibility in getting the best group of guys they can get together, but it's not working in Dallas with that, not having someone there whose job is on the line if they don't do that.
Right.
And I like to believe that Jerry Jones does make good choices. I didn't have a major problem with them signing Dak or CeeDee Lamb because, yes, it affects us now, but it's all relative. So in 2 years, the money's going to look good again, right? Oh, my headphone just popped out. Sorry.
Don't behind baseball us this early on in the show.
But that being said, like that's an issue here that that is not going to change, and we as Cowboys Nation needs to understand that, because after Jerry, it's going to be Stephen Jones, and I don't think Stephen Jones is going to be any different. They want to. It's a family-run business.
Some say that he's essentially kind of making the shots right now, anyways. Stephen Jones. So
yeah, which like where do those people get that type of information? Like, how do they know that?
You could assume.
You could assume. The way the teams ran has changed drastically in the last, I'd say, since 2010-ish with how they drafted and how they stopped trading for players. Jerry used to do some crazy shit and trade for people and draft guys that some other people didn't want. So in my mind, Stephen Jones has, if he's not running the team, between him and Will McClay, they have a lot more pull than they did maybe say 20 or 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
But I do have some interesting stats here.
Status up there, AJ.
Let's hear it, Stat Boy.
And a big shout out to chat. Those are the real ones who are choosing to tune into us on a Monday night hangover versus watching whatever that property is on TV right now. What, Monday Night Football? You feel me?
Two games. There's 2 games on.
Yeah,
one
games
being
right now.
the Shitmanders.
Yep. Yeah, Shitmanders.
The hell I'm trying to get this.
AJ is doing some math here.
It's not the prettiest.
Yeah, you bring that up. I'll just say Rolando Rodriguez says Cowboys CanFan. No hangover on this Monday. Crack him if you got him. All of his classic emojis. And then he also says Cowboys CanFan. The defense can't stop the run. Last in the NFL. Go Cowboys.
Okay, well, I'll just read these to you guys. Okay,
read it.
So the last 2 games, the Dallas Cowboys have had 295 yards rushed on them before contact, 3.5 yard average before contact,
jeez,
464 rush yards against, and they've been outrushed by 345 yards. So
that's how you lose football games.
That's how you lose football games. You don't have a run game.
I will say this, as far as running backs, the Cowboys on their schedule probably face 2 of the harder running backs back-to-back weeks with Alvin Kamara and Derrick Henry. Like, those are some two really good running backs, and the Ravens and the Saints have always been good running teams, but that's still unacceptable. Like, that's horrible. I also saw another stat that in the first 3 games, this is the most yards they've given up since 1963.
Yep.
The Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, so I told someone that
it's unacceptable.
Today. Well, to tag on to Alex's stat, to make it even worse, they have yards after contact, an average of 1.5 yards, with 0 broken tackles from all 3 of their running backs.
The Cowboys?
Cowboys.
Oh, wow.
0 broken tackles in 3 games.
I remember at one point, I think it was the 3rd quarter yesterday, they showed Derrick Henry stats, and he had 8 forced broken tackles in the 3rd quarter, just himself.
Yep, 0. And
while we're talking about Derrick Henry, did you guys see Jerry Jones come out after the game and say he liked all the guys, he doesn't plan on making a change, and they couldn't afford Derrick Henry?
Yeah.
Did you guys see that?
Derrick Henry has an $8 million contract, $5 million on the books, and that's less than. I mean, obviously, I think $6 million of Ezekiel Elliott's was dead cap anyways. But it's BS. And if you go and listen to Bryson's, it's like Carving It Up podcast on the Grid Network. Bryson Carver has a really good segment. It's the first segment that he goes into on today's show that he just did a couple hours ago. And he goes in and kind of breaks down the contract. And he was, Bryson's a pretty mild, calm-headed dude. And he was getting a little bit angry with Jerry Jones and saying that because he's a gaslighter.
He's spouting off lies and he's gaslighting. I would rather him come out and say, you know what? Maybe we made a mistake not pursuing Derrick Henry. I would rather him say that and be like, okay, at least he's admitting that he fucked up. But instead, he's saying that the Cowboys couldn't afford Derrick Henry.
Which is just lie. I would rather him just said, we want to make sure we're showing commitment to our guys, and we liked the personnel that we had.
Exactly.
That falls into the same narrative they're saying right now.
He could have also just not have said we didn't have the money to do it, because anyone can go and look and see that's not true. Derrick Henry it's a 1-year deal or 2-year deal. Like, it's not it's not a backbreaking thing. And how perfect would it be where you get him on the squad, you save money from not having to sign. So it's essentially like $3 million more.
Yeah.
The Cowboys have that. And you could see how pivotal and how big of a role he and game changer Derrick Henry can be. Yeah. Like, it would just be so helpful. But alas,
no one's stacking the box on any of our running backs. No, they're just not.
No, not at all.
The last three home games. And this is all defenses just on rushing, but just add some more context. And this includes that Green Bay game, so playoffs included.
Playoffs.
The teams have a 40-point scored average, 202 average total rushing yards, and a 7.7 average yards per play. Last three home games.
Yeah, so that's that's Green Bay, and then
then these last two in a row. Cool. So here's the question that I have for us and everyone in Cowboys Nation and all the CanFan and maniacs in chat is what are some quick solutions that the Cowboys can implement to get a win on Thursday night against the Giants?
They could play the Giants.
Okay. Hey, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just I feel like the opponent, if you look at the Cowboys' next 5 opponents, the Giants could not have come at a better time. And as far as if the Cowboys go out and lose against the Giants, guys.
Oh yeah, we've already said it.
I'm not coming back from Vegas.
We're on life support. If the Cowboys don't get a win, and this is the thing, everyone's out there been very vocal about Dak Prescott and how he beats up on teams that he's supposed to. So I'm fully expecting the Cowboys to go out and beat the Giants on Thursday night. But as far as what do they need to do, it's the same shit that we talked about for the Ravens. You have to run the football, you have to stop the run, and you have to score touchdowns. And I know that sounds very cliche and easy, but the 3 things that we talked about last week on how to beat the Ravens, they didn't do any of them. Sure, they scored some touchdowns in the fourth quarter, but it's the start of the game. You got to get out there and score touchdowns. Imagine that if CeeDee Lamb doesn't fumble it and the Cowboys put up 7 on that drive early in the first quarter, that game's completely different. But instead, the Cowboys went into halftime down 28-6. And so just getting a better start, getting a hot start, it showed the Cowboys record if they're leading at halftime opposed to losing at halftime. So getting a quick start against the Giants is pivotal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The win is necessary. I actually was listening to Locked On Cowboys. Really like that podcast as well. But don't you dare go watch their show before you watch ours.
You just listen to us butcher what they say.
We're going to listen to them and then give you a half right, half wrong answer. But they were just basically saying, like, it might be a good thing that the Cowboys aren't lingering on this loss, these 2 losses, and have to do a quick turnaround to get because they're playing Thursday, right? So I think that there's some sense in that, because the longer they go with this and with the media and everyone else, affect, these guys are online and reading all the comments, you know what I mean? So I think it could be a good thing. Now, maybe not if they need the time to fix some things, but I like that argument of being like, let's get those 2 games behind us. If they get a win, they're 2-2. The sky's not falling anymore, and then they have a nice long break until their next game where they can at least be sitting around with a win under their belt, a 500 record.
Which, after the way they've started, a 500 record's it would be nice.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, the Giants game couldn't have come at a better time, but a loss against this Giants team, and it's man, put on the toe tags.
We talked about, though, we like when the Cowboys aren't favored by everybody. We like when I'd rather, not rather us be an underdog, but I think positioning us right now and having the Cowboys not eat a lot of humble pie at the start of the season, I'd rather that happen so that they could then build upon that. I mean, I think Alex is queuing up.
I'm just getting some.
He's queuing up some clips because talking about how the player frustration is going to surmount. So all we're going to hear about over the next few weeks is how the team's falling apart. Micah's going to be an Eagle, or Micah's going to look for a trade. He's sick of this team. That's what you're starting. That's the narrative that's starting to happen. They do look confused. A lot of the team members are not in sync. When you look at CeeDee Lamb talking with Dak Prescott, you see Micah Parsons out there not knowing what's going on with his defensive scheme. He missed a couple of plays there, and I don't know if it's just because of the type of team that we're playing. We talked about this, or at least I talked about this in our main event last week about the rushing from Lamar Jackson and for Derrick Henry and how our defensive guys need to be disciplined and play their gap assignments properly. And we just didn't see it in this game, at least for the first half of the game. Defense started to show up coming into halftime, but still, man, it's very stressful.
Who's the coach? Sorry, for the Ravens.
Harbaugh.
John Harbaugh.
Harbaugh.
He is not.
White shirt, black shirt.
Yeah,
but he's not from the Shanahan coaching tree, is he?
Alex is doing some.
No.
Alex is doing some investigating here.
He's older.
Was he? Okay, but he came from the Bill Walsh tree.
Yeah, so he's got like that West Coast offense. He played quarterback in the NFL.
Okay. Anyways, I was also just hearing something about like the Shanahan coaching tree has like the Cowboys number, so that's like LaFleur,
Clint Kubiak.
Kubiak. But maybe it's just
Shanahan.
So, and what's Zimmer? How's Zimmer feeling about his start with the Dallas Cowboys? Like,
someone's comment in our post game reaction is that Zimmer, your DC looked like the red-nosed conductor. Like he looked like that guy who was just he's looked flustered. He's looked like he doesn't know what's going on the last 2 weeks.
You got to give a little credit though. In the second half, the defense did start figuring it out. They did make adjustments. The Ravens scored 1 touchdown in the second half. 28 again. If you told me at the start of the game before we played that the Ravens were going to get held to 28 points, I wouldn't have been like, holy fuck, the defense had a collapse, right?
Right.
Like compared to the Saints, the 44 against the Saints, that's a collapse. That's terrible. That's awful.
Yeah.
But to let 28 points against Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, I think the more telling thing is if you told me how many rushing yards they ran for.
Right.
That's the thing. What like that number shows the control of the game.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not, the score wasn't terrible, but you need the context of watching the entire game to realize it was a bad
There was one
effort.
drive that they had 5 plays and 5 first downs on every play.
Yeah. It's like a practice.
And they just walked up the field essentially. And it was tough to watch. We got excited. It was a fun game as far as it wasn't a blowout. Like we were in it till the very end and exciting for us as fans. I'm going to ask you guys just one play that really stood out to you that you felt like was the play of the game or the pivotal moment of the game that kind of won it or got them in it or lost it for the Cowboys.
I think just on offense that when the Cowboys started coming together and real quick, CeeDee Lamb had 6 passes in the second half, 5 incompletes and only 1 reception. So
that was post fumble, right?
That was second
half. Fumbled in the
yeah.
first quarter,
yeah.
I believe.
Yeah. So that being said, Dak had to start moving to, our C players basically. And I think that was it Tolbert or Turpin where he caught that long ball. It almost got it. I think it was Turpin.
I thought it was Tolbert.
Yeah,
maybe it was Tolbert.
Turpin had a big one. Turpin had the big one that got to the 1 yard line.
Yes,
Turpin. Turpin got 2 touchdowns, right? Joking. I thought he had 2 touchdowns. I thought he had 2 touchdowns yesterday. So, so is that your moment then, the Turpin?
Yeah, I think that was like an exciting play, and it definitely started to. I think they scored 2 touchdowns after that as well, and the onside kick, of course. But that was like when they did that, it was like, okay, still lots of time on the clock. I mean,
yeah, I think
they can still come back with a win. Defense was looking better.
An easy one to say would be the onside kick. I think that it felt like Jake Ferguson had a pretty decent, like a very difficult. It's a difficult throw, and it was a difficult catch. So that when that happened, it felt like I remember we collectively the energy shifted a little bit in the room. Lepke's catch shifted me a little bit, and I'm not talking about emotionally. I'm talking about in the pants.
6 to midnight.
6 to midnight. But like the Jake Ferguson catch, I think, is when I felt like the offense was shifting a bit. And the easy ones to say is the onside kick. What about you, Anth?
Well, you guys both went positive. You guys both went with good things. Again, I commend you guys for going good things. Right from the get-go, that CeeDee Lamb fumble in the first first quarter.
You were on that. You talked about that.
That was to me that's the turning point for the game. That from that there on, sure the offense came and did some stuff in the second half, but that as a guy that wants to be paid for the amount that he got paid, you have to, and you're showing it right now, a clip of it. You cannot fumble in the red zone ever. I don't care if it's 14-3 at this point in the second quarter, start of the second quarter. You cannot fumble this ball ever, and especially not from your top playmaker on your team. Right from this part, I was like, oh my God, man. This is
well, that for sure messed CD Lamb up. I mean, him and Dak after that just were not on the same page.
Well, you can see
you
CD
just can't
here.
fumble that, man.
Yeah,
He's having a little hissy fit.
He says, "Throw me the fucking ball." Coming up, watch.
Yeah, he does say that. And then Zach Martin and Dak are like walking together. And guys, let's not forget CD. Oh, this is him. That's like me. That's me when we're out of booze at the end of a show.
Where is it going?
I'm gonna sit on the ground and hit the ground.
It's not good to see that. It's in a game though, and I like my players to be emotional, and so that this shitty thing is they got the camera on them, and you should be able to have these types of conversaries with your teammates, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Dak and CD should be able to yell at each other and get angry, and then get over it, and there's no problem there. I'm not worried about that, but I am a little worried about the defensive side of things because I just think that has a lot more. There's not a lot of history with the coach, obviously. Micah Parsons is just the type of guy who strikes me as there's a lot of good about him, so I don't want to badmouth him, but I think he could be the guy who's like, no, I'm not signing with Cowboys. Fuck this, I'm out. And he might just be that one contract and done type of guy. So if this is how things continue to go for the remainder of his career, right? Or with of his contract.
His contract. But so think of it this way though. So he's in his 4th year this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Cowboys have the benefit that they can take him for his 5th year. And for him to say, no, I'm not going to sign with the Cowboys, he'll have to play with just a 5th year contract instead of taking a signing from the Cowboys. Like the Cowboys that's the one good thing about your rookies. You essentially get an extra year to kind of sign them up and keep them on your team before letting them test free agency, right? So I think it would have to be a pretty rough situation for Micah, and the Cowboys would really have to lowball him. But I want to ask you guys about Mike Zimmer. Do you think these are just growing pains? Like, you have to admit there's got to be a little bit of growing pains when you get a new DC in town. He's dealing with players that he's never had before. We did lose Deron Bland right out the get-go. We lost a couple depth pieces on the defensive line. We lost Sam Williams. Like, is this just growing pains that we're seeing, or is the defense just playing so bad that this is just who they are?
There shouldn't be, because when you look at the star potential on both sides of the ball, I would argue that the defense has much better star players or more of them. Offense, who is it? Dak Prescott, Zach Martin, Tyler Smith, CD Lamb. Like, those are the stars on the team, essentially. On defense, it just seems like there's more. Micah Parsons, CD Lamb, Diggs. You could put Deron Bland in there, even though he's not playing right now.
Tank.
DeMarcus Lawrence. I would even say Eric Kendricks. He's probably not a star necessarily, but he was at one point in his career. So maybe there's not as many as I said, but it just feels that way, right? Like I wasn't thinking about the linemen when I first started talking, but
I know what you mean though. It feels, when you feel what's going on, I still think the challenge, and to try to answer Ant's question and to sort of answer Bandwagon Baba's question, so she gets mad when sometimes I don't bring it up. So she says, so is defense not doing what Zimmer wants them to do? Is there a mutiny? Is there follow-up? I don't know if there's a mutiny. I think what happens is you look at some of these younger players, Micah Parsons included, where you have Dan Quinn and they install a certain type of defensive package for that team, and your team gels a certain way under that defensive package. And then you have another DC that comes in with different sensibilities, maybe different coaching style. He's not the buddy coach that Dan Quinn was, and some of these younger players might have needed that. So I do think it is a little bit of just trying to get that package or that install up at game speed, and I think that's where you're seeing those errors are being made. And because Zimmer is playing against people who know who know, like, you know, he was going up against Clint Kubiak, who was on the same team as him. So I think it kind of is like the way that you roll the dice a little bit. They're more likely going to switch maybe their schemes around, is what we saw with the Saints. But in terms of like the Baltimore Ravens, they did everything that we thought they were going to do. They didn't run any type of different trick offense. They weren't trying to trick anybody. They did exactly what you would gain. If you watched film on Baltimore 13 times, like 90% of the time you're going to see what we saw happen in terms of their run and their passing schematics. So that just comes down to two teams in a row that just kind of hit us there, punch us in the nose.
Yep. But when the Cowboys also couldn't fucking tackle, like that has nothing to do with a coach. How many missed tackles were in the Saints game and how many missed tackles were in the Baltimore Ravens game? So like we could bitch about defensive scheme all we want and growing pains, but at the end of the day, there was a lot of missed tackles. Yep. Not only yesterday, but against the Saints game. And that's inexcusable. That comes down to one-on-one matches. And that goes back to what I was saying with Alvin Kamara and Derrick Henry. Like those are two of the better running backs in the NFL. They're going to make plays. But if this team wants to keep fighting to win the division and fight to get anywhere in the postseason, those players have to make tackles. And the defense just hasn't showed they could yet. And yesterday was a tough pill to swallow as far as just it was as far as a roller coaster. When you say the term roller coaster of a game, that was the epitome of a roller coaster.
It played with my emotions.
Just horrible. And this is something that's, you know, I don't think a surprise. Cowboys are ranked 32nd in defense and tied for 23rd in offense, but first for special teams.
There's our boy.
Aubrey, baby.
Aubrey. Bobs.
And Turp. And Turpentine.
And Turp. Yeah, we're gonna have 2 Pro Bowl players at least.
Put Ye in there because Ye seems to be getting more returns, not to the house, but he's getting more returns than Turpin right now.
And I'm surprised to go back a chapter here, but you didn't call out Hunter Lepke for his big catch and run.
I did though.
He did.
I did.
Ad did bring up Lepke
today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think you were getting out the bat signal, AJ.
I was. I went from 6 to midnight. I said.
Oh right. Okay.
A moment for me.
I tuned out.
Yeah.
I tuned out. I remember the 6 to midnight, but not who it was about. Real quick here, guys. Just a final look here at our chart, our PFF P chart. Let me try to zoom it in just a little bit. But the one who really needs to drink some water is Mozzie Smith. Just a terrible.
Wow.
He's about to die
Awful.
if that's his P color, but this is no good.
The defense looks terrible when you're getting this color scheme going.
Oh yeah. I mean, Parsons, of course, is he's the 13th ranked edge at the moment. Clark is the 14th ranked linebacker, and Kendricks is the 20th ranked linebacker. So there's some bright spots on the defense. That's nice to see. But looking down here on our offense,
just as dehydrated.
Just as dehydrated. No reds, but Cooks is like not really done anything in any games except for the first one where he caught a nice touchdown. I was hoping that's kind of what we would be seeing from him consistently. And then of course Smith and Martin are just holding up there. And to be honest, BB and Steele are not terrible. But Guyton, he's had a couple rough weeks.
He's had a couple rough weeks. Yep.
You have it.
You're all the way out there on your own. So like that's a very difficult spot, that left tackle position, where like you make up an error and you're screwing yourself, versus like Tyler Smith, where you kind of have the support left and right of you. But I definitely think that Guyton's done some good stuff. And
he's a rookie.
Oh yeah, you knew there was going to be growing pains. You knew there was going to be growing pains. With Guyton.
He still has. There's still some difficult games coming up for them, but if you look at the defensive line for the Baltimore Ravens, they're a good defensive line. So like, and same with the Saints offensive line. So
yeah,
he didn't do as bad against the Saints defensive line though. I don't think, did he?
I think he's been pretty consistently like good.
Average. I mean, I guess he's a 55.
Yeah,
dehydrated orange.
Yeah, Guyton to me, not a problem. Not worried about him. But do we have any last thoughts here, gents?
I'm just excited that, like AJ, you mentioned it. earlier that it's a quick turnaround. I think a quick turnaround's key. You had a bad day at the office, get back to that office and make things right. And a convincing win against the Giants would help.
Yep.
Fuck it. At this point, I don't care if it's convincing or not. Just get that W, get to 2-2 and move on. Just wipe the last 2 weeks out of your head. Practice hard this week and try to get up on the mistakes you did the last couple weeks.
Yeah, last thoughts. Use these last 2 games as a wake-up call. You got the Giants coming in on a Thursday night, so it's a short week. If you're not angry about where your team's at right now and you're not prepared to go into a division rival and stomp the house, like I don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah, it's time they had a 2-week vacation from football. It's time to get back to work, get in the office Thursday. Let's go beat up the Giants at home and shut everyone up.
Yeah, shut up Daniel Jones and Malik Neighbors.
Most people, yeah.
Yeah.
Kiss their mouths and shut them up.
Kiss their mouths and shut them up. Okay, we're going to be back for the main event this week. Possibly Wednesday, possibly tomorrow night. We don't know yet, but we will be here before.
Possibly Thursday.
Possibly Thursday. But we will be here Thursday. We'll go live before the game airs. So tune in and tune up and grab a nice cold drink and crack them if you got them, baby.
No crack'ems, dudes.
I know.
We didn't have a single crack'em.
No, we didn't deserve it.
We did
not deserve it.
Hey, I like that. They didn't deserve it. All right.
But if you guys know any Cowboys fans out there, or sorry, you know what? No,
If you know any
Cowboys fans out there who are telling you to go ahead and get rid of Dak Prescott and that CeeDee Lamb's junk, you go ahead and you tell them to go fuck themselves. Had to start it again.
Yeah, you had to start it again.
All right, peace out, CanFan Maniacs.
Adam, AJ on the